What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector. I'm your host, BTC. Thank you, as always, for liking, subscribing, commenting. First things first, there's a thunderstorm rolling in, so hopefully you won't hear it, but you may hear a thunderstorm in the background. So just be aware of that. I'm doing a think piece today. The channel's grown. I usually like to say this. The channel has grown since I made my last think piece. This is I would guess more of a random series, just whenever a thought pops in my head that I feel the need to flesh out and have some conversation about. I will make a think piece video, and the purpose of these think piece videos is again to generate conversation, is to help me mull over ideas and spark something in the comments section. So please, if you have an opinion, if you agree, if you disagree, I usually don't beg for comments, but when it comes to the Think Piece series, I will beg for comments. If you have an opinion, feel free. I'm asking you to put it in the comments section. So I think this is a good one in honor of the great John Romita Sr., who I just learned this morning created Punisher. Well, he helped create Punisher and Wolverine. I don't have their first appearances. This is the best I got for Punisher and Wolverine. Punisher's kind of a character I've fallen out of love with. But this is what I got, guys. These are my best Punisher and Wolverine books. And John Romita Sr. died, and what an impact and legacy that man had, being there near the beginning of Marvel. You know, I don't know if he was there in the Silver Age. Please, you comic historians, you Spider-Man fans, put it in the comments when John Romita started at Marvel. I want to say he started in the Bronze Age. You know, as Ditko and Lee's relationship deteriorated. The way I understand it, Romita Sr. comes in and becomes the next fantastic Spider-Man artist. But I could be wrong. You know, I'm not the biggest expert. For some reason, I had it in my head Len Wein created Wolverine, but I don't know where that came from. And yeah, John Romita Sr., interesting to note that he also created Mary Jane. He also created, I just looked it up, and I forget, Luke Cage. So some very important characters to Marvel are attributed to John Romita Sr. And no one can dispute, whether you're a fan of his work or not, a fan of the characters he created or not, no one can dispute the impact and legacy that man put on the industry and the hobby and fans everywhere. So my think piece today, because of, you know, the unfortunate circumstance, it's just making me think, you know, because I started thinking this is the time where books are going to shoot up. And then that started making me think, is it morally right for that to happen? So the question I really want to talk about, or the question I have in my mind, is it morally right for sellers to profit off of someone's death? You know, we can get into the logistics of this, where it's just a natural thing. A celebrity or a musician, comic book creator, what have you, dies, and that spurns interest in that character or in that celebrity, musician, or comic creator, or whatever. And the collectibles are going to rise in value. They're going to rise in price. You know, capitalism, right? Supply, demand. The demand is going to increase and outnumber the supply on the market at the time of death, when that person is in everybody's memory. And it's no exception here in comic books. I don't know how much it's going to impact Hulk 181, that the train's already left. Hulk 181 is now a rich man's collectible. There's no way a blue collar guy like me is ever going to own a Hulk 181 unless the market really tanks and if Hulk 181 ever came back down to say $500 in very good condition, then we're talking I'd pull the trigger. I would definitely, I'd find a way to pay for it. But that's not going to happen, in my opinion. And, First Punisher has left the train, or the train has left the station on First Punisher, in my opinion. I don't know about First Mary Jane, so I don't know about those particular books, but other John Romita Sr. books, I would imagine, are going to be increasing in value now. People are going to be seeking them out. I'm sure books are rising in value right now as we speak. Today is the day that the information has been released to the public that John Romita Sr. died. And so I would be surprised if today is when the value starts increasing. Everybody's going to want John Romita Sr. stuff to commemorate them. Let's see here. I'm trying to flesh out my thoughts. This is where I was going. So we've seen this in the past where creators die. Most recently, Neal Adams died. Stan Lee passed away within the last few years. I feel like somebody else recently has died that doesn't get a lot of credit. But yeah, I don't feel like it's this market breaking thing, but I did notice with Neal Adams, some of the Neal Adams DC covers kind of went up a little bit now that he's dead. And it puts a premium on their autographed books now that you cannot get an autograph anymore from these creators now that they've passed away. And, money is just this tricky thing. There's an old proverb, the root of money is the root of all evil. And not everybody feels that way about money, but, we just place so much negative energy and we put this negative definition on money and it being the cause of so many problems in the world. And so sellers selling collectibles after somebody's death, it just kind of falls into that negative energy. But at the same time, it's not necessarily the seller's fault. We give collectors a pass. Well, these people just want to buy something because they were such a fan and they want to commemorate this guy and his legacy and his life. We never view that as being a negative thing. The want for, in this case, a John Romita Sr. comic book. I would actually want a John Romita Sr. comic book. I thought I owned one, but apparently I don't. So it'd be cool if I could get my hands on a John Romita Sr. comic book in the future. I think he's a fantastic artist. And should I be angry at sellers who maybe want to bump up the value of whatever I'm looking for because John Romita Sr. died? There's so much morality that goes into this. When it comes to respecting the family and realizing an actual human being passed away. But it's hard to do that when we're just fans. We've never met John Romita Sr. We've never met John Romita Jr. We're not related to them. We're not part of their family. So we're kind of detached and removed, and anything we're doing in the market indirectly affects that family at all. They're never going to know that I buy a John Romita Sr. comic book at a higher price. So is the morality really violated there? That I'm not really affecting that family at all. And there's also the dilemma, let's just speak hypothetically here. What if the Ramita Sr. family needs help paying for expenses? Well, they could go into his archives, his personal collection, and sell his material for a premium. I'm sure that's been done before. When a very famous person dies, the family either wants to liquidate all of their belongings, or they need help, or they need the money, and they need help with expenses, because maybe that person didn't have tangible wealth. So that could also be a thing where even people directly affected by Ramita Sr.'s death would be selling his works, his collection at a premium. Now, I can't imagine John Ramita Jr. would be doing that. He seems like a well-off man. I've seen him on Instagram. It looks like he's living his best life. So I can't imagine he'd want to part with anything Senior owned, any of his personal belongings. There's a lot of sentimental value, and sentimentality is sometimes a lot more powerful, a lot more valuable to people than monetary value. So I can't imagine John Ramita Jr. would actually sell anything, but you just never know. Maybe John Ramita Jr. original art, or John Ramita Sr. original art, maybe comics personally gifted to Senior that he helped create go up for sale. Who knows? That's also a thing. Paying for bills, expenses, or maybe the family just wants to liquidate some of that wealth, pass it on to their younger kids or the younger generations in that family. You just never know. So I just don't think, and that's what makes it such a good think piece, right? It's just not so clear cut and dry. And I didn't make this point, so I'll make it now that it's in my mind. Going back to giving collectors a pass. These collectors just want to own these things to commemorate, somebody they idolize. They're not hurting anything. Well, honestly, when you talk about supply and demand, it's really the demand. The demand creates market value. Less demand, supply can do whatever supply is going to do. It depends on demand. If demand outweighs supply, prices go up, value increases. If demand is less than supply, doesn't matter what the number, what the size of the supply is. If demand becomes less than supply, values decrease. So who creates demand? Not the seller. The seller can think they're going to create value and supply. We live in a world now where we have artificial scarcity. So sellers can think that they really influence the market, but it's really the buyers, the collectors, those people influence the market way more than sellers do. So keep that in mind when we're judging people that want to sell Ramita Sr. books at a premium, because they're going to be, I don't want to say flooding the market, but we're probably going to be seeing an influx of Ramita Sr. books onto eBay and maybe Heritage and other websites, possibly for a premium. You're contributing to that when you FOMO out, or you make the purchase, you pull the trigger, as we all say, on those books, on that original art, on those figures or whatever. I think that's all I got. I think I hashed out everything I wanted to say. My personal opinion on the matter, I think that it's okay. I think as long as your business practices are ethical, You're not ripping people off. You're not being directly insensitive to the family and loved ones affected by Ramita Sr.'s death or anybody else that's died recently. I think as long as you're just got an honest to goodness, you're just willing to part with Ramita Sr. stuff, and he's dead now, and you're hoping to liquidate some of your collection. I see nothing wrong with it. But again, you could easily go into that gray area where it's like, maybe we should just respect Ramita Sr.'s death and his family. But yeah, those are my closing thoughts. Again, this is the only series where I beg for comments. If you have an opinion, one way or the other, or maybe ride the fence, put them in the comments. I do this Think Piece series to generate conversation with you guys. Thank you again for liking, subscribing, and commenting. Rest in peace, John Ramita Sr. And until next time.